2 in the morning. That's when my husband, the man I'd been carrying for 5 years, decided to throw me out of my house because his mama told him to. I was standing on my own front lawn in my pajamas, barefoot, holding a trash bag with whatever clothes he let me grab. Behind me, the door was closed. Through the window, I could see her, his mama, Gloria, standing there with her arms crossed, smiling, like she'd finally won. And maybe she thought she had. Maybe they both did. They thought they broke me that night. They thought I had nothing left. But here's what they didn't know, what my grandmother made sure they would never know. That house, my name was the only name on that deed, the only name on that mortgage. Every single payment for 5 years came out of my account, not his, mine. My grandmother told me before she died, she said, "Baby, don't you ever put a man's name on nothing until he proves himself worthy. And if he never proves himself, then he never gets his name on nothing." I listened to her, even when Darnell asked, even when Gloria pushed. I kept that deed in my name only. And in that moment, standing on that lawn at 2 in the morning with nothing but a trash bag and my broken heart, I made a decision. They wanted to throw me away like garbage? Fine. But they were about to find out that you can't throw somebody out of their own house. Let me tell you how a man with nothing tried to take everything and ended up with exactly what he deserved. Nothing. Let me take you back to where it all started to fall apart. 3 weeks before that night, my life looked the same as it had for years. Wake up, take care of everybody, go to work, come home, take care of everybody again, sleep, repeat. It was a Tuesday morning, 5:30 a.m. My alarm went off and I dragged myself out of bed like I always did. Darnell was still sleeping. Of course he was. He didn't have anywhere to be. Hadn't had anywhere to be for 2 years now. I went downstairs and started my routine. Made breakfast for 3 people. Eggs, bacon, toast, fresh coffee. Packed a lunch for Darnell out of habit, even though he hadn't worked in forever. Laid out Miss Gloria's medications on the counter with a glass of water, just how she liked it. Ironed my work clothes because I didn't have time to do it the night before. By 6:45, Gloria came down the stairs. She moved into our house 3 years ago. Said it was temporary. Said she just needed a few months to figure things out after she sold her house. 3 years later, she was still there. Still temporary, still not paying a dime. She sat down at the table and looked at the breakfast I made, picked up her coffee, took a sip, and frowned. "This coffee is cold," she said, "and you know I don't like my eggs this hard." "I'm sorry, Miss Gloria," I said. "I can make you some more if you want." She waved her hand like I was bothering her. "Never mind, I'll just suffer through it." She let out this big, dramatic sigh. "You know, Darnell's ex-girlfriend, Shauna, now she could cook." I didn't say anything. I never said anything. Around 7, Darnell finally came downstairs. Not to help, not to say good morning, just to get food and ask for money. "Babe," he said, "I need $200 for a networking event tonight." "Another one?" I asked. "That's the 3rd one this month." He gave me that look like I was being difficult. "You want me to get a job or not? I gotta invest in myself, gotta put myself out there." And before I could say anything else, Gloria chimed in. "Leave the boy alone, Keisha. A man has to network. That's how business works." I gave him the money, like I always did. Then I grabbed my purse and headed to work. See, I was a senior loan officer at First National Bank, had been for 8 years. I helped people buy their dream homes every single day. I knew mortgages inside and out. I knew property law. I knew what it took to own something. I made $78,000 a year, and every penny of it went to keeping that household running. The mortgage was $1,800 a month. That came out of my account. Utilities were about $400 a month. My account. Groceries for 3 people, $600 a month. My account. Car payments, $850 a month for 2 cars. His Dodge Charger that he just had to have, and my Honda Accord. Both loans in my name. Both payments from my account. His gym membership, my account. Her medications, my account. Everything. Every single thing. Me. And you know what Darnell contributed in 5 years of marriage? Nothing. Not one mortgage payment, not one utility bill, not one grocery run. Nothing. He had a job when I met him, sold cars at a dealership, made decent money. That's the man I married. But 6 months after the wedding, he quit. Said his manager disrespected him. Said he couldn't work for someone who didn't appreciate his talents. I understood. I supported him. Told him to take some time, find something better. That was 5 years ago. Every job since then ended the same way. Someone disrespected him. Someone didn't see his vision. Someone held him back. It was always someone else's fault. After a while, he stopped even looking. Said he was going to start his own business, be his own boss. I paid for his business cards, paid for his website, paid for his LLC filing, paid for everything. The business never made a dollar. But I kept paying, kept supporting, kept believing that one day he'd step up. That's what good wives do, right? That's what I was taught. Stand by your man. Hold your family together. Be strong. I was strong. So strong that I was breaking. And nobody even noticed. Let me break down the math for you. Because when I finally sat down and added it all up, I almost lost my mind. In 5 years of marriage, I spent over $50,000 just on Darnell. Not counting the mortgage, not counting groceries, just on him. His car payment was $450 a month for 3 years. That's $16,200. His gym membership was $50 a month for 5 years. That's $3,000 for a gym he went to maybe twice a week to hang out with his boys. His clothes, his shoes, his video games, that PlayStation 5 he just had to have, the speakers for his man cave, the golf clubs he used twice, the business cards nobody ever asked for, the networking events that were really just him buying drinks for his friends. Every time he needed something, I provided it. Every time he wanted something, I made it happen. And his mama? Don't even get me started on his mama. Gloria sold her house 3 years ago. Paid off. Free and clear. Her husband left it to her when he died. She sold it for $180,000. $180,000. She told Darnell she had to sell because she couldn't afford the maintenance. Said the roof needed work. Said the plumbing was old. Said she just couldn't keep up with it all by herself. So she moved in with us. Temporarily. I asked her once about the money from the sale. Gently, just curious where it went. She looked at me like I had asked her Social Security number. That's none of your business, she said. I'm on a fixed income. You wouldn't understand. Fixed income. That's what she always said. Fixed income. Like she was barely surviving. Like she was one step away from the homeless shelter. But I never saw a dime of that money. Not for rent, not for groceries, not for utilities, not even for her own medications, which I picked up from the pharmacy every month and paid for with my insurance. 3 years of her living in my house, eating my food, using my electricity, and she never contributed a single dollar. Where did $180,000 go? I don't know. She wouldn't say. But I know where it didn't go. It didn't go to helping me. Meanwhile, I was looking at my bank statements every month and wondering how I was going to make it all work. My paycheck would hit on Friday. By Monday, half of it was gone. Mortgage, auto pay. Car payments, auto pay. Insurance, auto pay. Then the rest of the month was just survival. Groceries, gas, whatever emergency popped up that week. I had a secret savings account. My grandmother taught me to have one before she died. Just a little bit every month, she said. Hide it away where nobody can find it, because you never know when you might need to save yourself. I had $12,000 in that account. It took me years to save it, hiding 50 here, 100 there, whenever I could scrape something together. Darnell didn't know about it. Gloria definitely didn't know about it. That was my escape fund, My just-in-case money, my grandmother's final gift to me. I didn't know then how soon I was going to need it. Looking back at those bank statements now, I can see it so clearly. I was the only one putting money in, the only one. And there were 3 people taking money out. Well, not taking out exactly, more like expecting me to spend it on them. Every meal, every bill, every want and need. I was the ATM, the bank account, the provider. And somehow I was still the one being told I wasn't good enough. That Wednesday, I worked a 10-hour day at the bank. One of my clients was closing on their first home, a young couple so excited they could barely sit still. I stayed late to make sure everything went through perfectly, handed them their keys, watched them cry happy tears. That's the part of my job I loved, helping people achieve their dreams, giving them something that was theirs. By the time I got home, I was exhausted. The good kind of exhausted, you know? The kind where you did something meaningful. I walked in the door expecting maybe a quiet evening, maybe some leftovers and a hot shower and bed. Instead, I walked into a mess. Dishes in the sink from breakfast and lunch. Gloria's empty yogurt containers on the counter. Darnell's cereal bowl just sitting there with dried milk crusty on the sides. Gloria was in the living room watching her shows, feet up on my couch. Didn't even look up when I came in. Darnell was in the bedroom playing video games. I could hear the explosions and gunfire from the hallway. Nobody said hello. Nobody asked how my day was. "Hey, I'm home," I called out. I was thinking maybe we could... Gloria cut me off without even looking at me. "The house is dusty. I had to take my allergy medicine twice today." I took a breath. "I'll dust this weekend, Miss Gloria." "Weekend?" She finally looked at me. "I have to suffer until the weekend?" "My allergies are serious, Keisha. I could have an attack." Then she raised her voice so Darnell could hear. "Darnell, your wife doesn't care if I can't breathe." From the bedroom, I heard him yell back, "Keisha, why you stressing my mama out?" I wanted to scream. I had just worked 10 hours. They had been home all day doing nothing, and somehow I was the problem because there was dust. But I didn't scream. I took another breath, and I went to the kitchen to make dinner. I made baked chicken with rice and vegetables. Nothing fancy, but nutritious. Good food. We sat down at the table. Gloria took one bite and made a face like I had served her garbage. "What is this supposed to be?" she asked. "Baked chicken with rice and vegetables," I said. She pushed her fork around the plate. "It's dry. Everything you make is dry." Darnell nodded along with his mama. "She's right, babe. You should take a cooking class or something. Learn how to season food properly." I felt something crack inside me. Just a little. A tiny fracture. "I worked 10 hours today," I said quietly. "If it's not good enough, maybe someone else could cook once in a while." The table went silent. Gloria's jaw dropped like I had cursed at her. She put her hand on her chest. "Are you saying I should cook? An old woman with arthritis? Darnell, you hear how she talks to me?" Darnell slammed his fork down. "Keisha, apologize to my mother right now." I looked at him. Then I looked at her, both of them staring at me like I was the villain. "I'm sorry, Miss Gloria," I heard myself say. "I didn't mean it like that. I'm just tired." Gloria sniffed. "Tired. Please. I raised 4 children. You don't know what tired is." I finished my dinner in silence. Then I cleared the table, washed the dishes, wiped down the counters, started a load of laundry, while they watched TV. This was my life, every single night. I would work all day, come home, and work some more. And no matter what I did, it was never enough. The chicken was too dry. The house was too dusty. I worked too much. I wasn't attentive enough. I wasn't woman enough. And the biggest sin of all, the thing they never let me forget, I couldn't give them a grandchild. I have PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. The doctor diagnosed me 3 years into our marriage. She explained that it would make getting pregnant difficult. Not impossible, but difficult. There were treatments we could try, medications, procedures, options. I wanted to try them. I wanted a baby so badly. But Darnell wasn't interested. Too expensive, he said. Too complicated. Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. Meanwhile, His mama brought it up every chance she got. Subtle little comments. Not so subtle questions. When are you going to give me a grandchild, Keisha? My friend's daughter-in-law just had twins. Isn't that nice? You know, a woman's purpose is to be a mother. What are you waiting for? Every month when my period came, I cried in the bathroom with the door locked, mourning a baby that didn't exist, feeling like a failure. And they used that against me, made me feel like less than a woman, less than a wife, like I deserved whatever I got because I couldn't do the one thing women are supposed to do. They didn't know that those comments cut me deeper than any knife. They didn't know how many nights I prayed and begged God to bless me with a child. Or maybe they did know. Maybe that's why they kept saying it. Here's something I didn't know at the time. While I was working myself to death and crying in bathrooms and apologizing for existing, things were happening behind my back. Plans were being made. Lies were being told. That same night, after I went to bed, Darnell told me he was going out to meet the guys. Needed to blow off some steam. Guy stuff, you know. I was too tired to argue. Too tired to question. I just said, okay, and pulled the covers over my head. But Darnell wasn't meeting the guys. He was meeting her, Tiffany. Tiffany Banks was 28 years old, worked at a boutique downtown. Pretty girl with long braids and a bright smile. She thought she was in love with my husband. See, Darnell had been seeing her for 8 months. 8 months of secret dinners and weekend getaways and promises of a future together. He told her he was separated. Told her his wife was crazy and controlling. Told her he was just waiting for the right time to leave. And she believed him. Why wouldn't she? He was charming when he wanted to be. Smooth. Convincing. That night, he went to her apartment. She had candles lit and music playing. Thought it was romantic. "Baby," she said to him, "when are you going to leave her? You promised." "Soon, boo," he said. "Real soon. I just got to get my situation right." "What about the house?" she asked. "You said it's yours." And here's where it gets good. Here's where you see exactly who Darnell really was. "It is mine," he told her. "I'm the man. When I divorce her, I keep the house. That's how it works." He believed that. He genuinely believed that because he was the husband, he was entitled to everything. Didn't matter that he never paid a bill. Didn't matter that his name wasn't on anything. In his mind, being the man meant being the owner. "What about your mama?" Tiffany asked. "She's going to help me," he said. "She knows people at the church who can hook me up with a good lawyer. Keisha won't know what hit her." He laid there in another woman's bed, making plans to take my house. The house I paid for. The house my grandmother's inheritance bought. The house with my name and only my name on the deed. But he didn't know that last part. Neither did his mama. Because while Darnell was with Tiffany, Gloria was at my house making her own phone calls. "Crystal, baby, how are the kids?" Crystal was Gloria's niece, 25 years old with 2 children, 4 and 6. Single mother, struggling to make ends meet. Gloria had always had a soft spot for her. "Listen," Gloria said into the phone, "I think there's going to be some room here real soon. Darnell is finally about to handle his business." She was talking about me. Handle his business meant get rid of Keisha. "Yes," Gloria continued, "you and the babies can come stay. It's a nice house, 3 bedrooms, good neighborhood, and of course you won't have to pay rent. Your family." There it was, the plan. Gloria wanted me gone so she could move her niece in. More people for me to take care of, except I wouldn't be there anymore. They would have my house, my space, everything I worked for. "Just give me a few more weeks," Gloria said before hanging up. "Keisha will be out of here, and then this will be our house, the way it should have been from the start. Our house." She called it our house. A house she never paid a penny for. A house that belonged to me. I was asleep upstairs, exhausted from another long day, dreaming about nothing. I had no idea that the 2 people I lived with were actively plotting to steal everything from me. The wife who gave too much. That's what they saw when they looked at me. Easy target, cash machine, someone to use until she wasn't useful anymore. They thought they were so smart, thought they had it all figured out. But there was one thing they didn't count on, one thing my grandmother made sure of long before she died. They didn't know about the deed. And that little detail, that was going to change everything. Friday night, the night everything changed. I came home from work like any other day, put my keys on the hook, set my purse down, called out to see if anyone was home. But something felt different. The energy in the house was off, heavy, like the air before a thunderstorm. I walked into the dining room and froze. Gloria was sitting at the table, hands folded, face set like stone. Darnell was standing behind her with his arms crossed, looking at me like I was a stranger who had wandered into his house. "Hey," I said slowly, "what's going on?" "Sit down, Keisha," Darnell said. "We need to talk." My heart started beating faster. Something was very wrong. I could feel it. I sat down across from Gloria. She didn't greet me, didn't smile, just stared. "I'm just going to say it," Gloria announced. "This isn't working." "What isn't working?" I asked. Darnell stepped forward. "Us, this marriage. Mama's been helping me see things clearly." I felt like I had been punched in the chest. "What are you saying? You want to go to counseling or something? Because I've been asking you to go to counseling for 2 years, and you always said no." He shook his head. "That's not what I'm saying." Gloria leaned forward. "He's saying you need to leave." "Excuse me?" "You heard me." She didn't blink. "You need to go. This family doesn't need you anymore." I looked at Darnell, at this man I had married, this man I had supported and funded and believed in for 5 years. I was waiting for him to say something, to defend me, to tell his mother she was out of line. He didn't. I turned back to Gloria. "Miss Gloria, this is between me and my husband." She laughed, a cold, ugly laugh. "Your husband? You call yourself a wife?" She started counting on her fingers. "You can't cook. You can't clean properly, you can't keep house, and you can't even give him children." The children comment. Always the children comment. "That's not," I started. "The doctor said." Gloria waved her hand like my medical condition was an excuse. "The doctor." "Please, women been having babies since the beginning of time, Keisha. Since Eve in the garden. If you can't do that one basic thing, what good are you?" I felt tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not in front of her, not about this. I turned to Darnell again. "Baby, are you going to let her talk to me like this?" And you know what he said? "She's got a point, Keisha. 5 years and no kids. What's up with that?" I couldn't believe it. This man who refused to try treatments, who said it was too expensive, who said maybe it wasn't meant to be. Now he was acting like it was my fault. "Darnell, I have PCOS. You know this. We talked about treatments. You said you didn't want to do them." "I don't want treatments," he said. "I want a wife who can do her job." Her job. Like bearing children with a task on a checklist. Like I was failing at my duties. "So what are you saying?" I asked, my voice shaking. "You want a divorce?" Darnell and Gloria exchanged a look. Some unspoken communication passed between them. "I'm saying I need space to figure out what I want," Darnell said. "What he means," Gloria interrupted, "is that you need to leave. Tonight." "Tonight?" I stood up from the chair. "Where am I supposed to go? It's Friday night. It's almost 9 o'clock. Gloria shrugged like that wasn't her problem. "Go to your mama's house." "My grandmother is dead, Miss Gloria. You know that. You came to the funeral." She didn't even flinch. "Well, find somewhere. You're a smart girl. Figure it out." I looked around my house, the house I paid for, the house I cleaned, the house I filled with furniture that I bought and food that I cooked and love that I gave freely. "Darnell," I said slowly, "this is our home. We built this together." "No, Keisha." He stepped toward me, and for the first time, I felt afraid of him. "This is my home, and my mother needs to be comfortable here. You're making that impossible." Gloria stood up and came to stand next to her son. "My niece Crystal and her kids need a place to stay. Good kids deserve a good home. But there's no room for you anymore." She smiled at me, that same smile I would see later through the window. "Pack your things," she said sweetly. "Take your time. You have until the morning." I stood there in my own dining room, being told to leave my own house by people who had never paid a single bill. People I had fed and clothed and supported for years, and I didn't know what to do. So I went upstairs to the bedroom, sat on the bed I had bought, looked around at the walls I had painted, and I waited, hoping Darnell would come up and say it was all a mistake, a bad joke, that he didn't really want me to go. He never came. I sat in that bedroom for hours, crying, praying, trying to understand how my life had fallen apart so fast. I must have dozed off at some point, because the next thing I knew, I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. Heavy footsteps. Angry footsteps. The door swung open. Darnell was standing there, and he wasn't alone. Gloria was right behind him. I looked at the clock. 2 a.m. "Keisha," Darnell said, "you're still here?" I sat up, still half asleep. "Where would I go? It's the middle of the night." "That's not my problem," he said. "Mama wants you gone, now." Gloria pushed past him into the room. Into my room. "I can't sleep knowing she's in this house," she announced. "I have anxiety. My blood pressure is up. Darnell, do something." Darnell walked over to my closet and grabbed a handful of trash bags. "Here," he said, throwing them at me. "Take what you can carry. I'll send the rest later." I stared at those trash bags. Black plastic, the kind you use for garbage. "You're serious?" I said. "You're really doing this. You should have been a better wife," he said. Gloria walked over to my dresser and started opening drawers, started touching my things, pulling out my clothes and tossing them toward the bags. "Don't forget her cheap jewelry," Gloria said. "I don't want it stinking up my house." My house. She said my house. Something in me snapped. "Your house," I heard myself say. "I paid for this house. Every single mortgage payment, every utility bill, every—" Darnell grabbed my arm. Hard. "Enough, Keisha. You're leaving. End of discussion." He started shoving my things into the trash bags, not folding them, not packing them, just cramming them in like they were worthless, like I was worthless. Gloria watched with her arms crossed, that same satisfied smile on her face. I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience, like this couldn't really be happening. This couldn't be my life. But it was. Darnell grabbed the bags and headed for the stairs. "Let's go." I followed him. What else could I do? He was bigger than me, stronger than me, and he had made it clear that my presence was no longer wanted. We walked through the living room, through the kitchen, past all the things I had bought with my money, past the furniture I had picked out, past the pictures on the walls from our wedding day. Gloria held the front door open like a butler showing out an unwanted guest. Darnell walked outside and tossed my bags on the front lawn. They landed on the grass like garbage, because that's what he thought they were, what he thought I was. I stepped out onto the porch. The night air was cold. I was in my pajamas, no shoes, no jacket. Darnell stood in the doorway, blocking my way back in. I looked at him one last time. This man I had loved. This man I had built my life around. "Darnell, please," I whispered. "Don't do this." He didn't say anything, just stepped back and closed the door. I heard the lock click. Then I heard Gloria's voice from inside, muffled through the door, but still clear enough to understand. "You did the right thing, baby. Now we can be a family again." I stood on that lawn at 2 a.m, barefoot, in my pajamas, surrounded by trash bags full of my life. The sprinklers came on. Of course they did, programmed to run at 2:15 every morning. I had set the timer myself. I grabbed my bags and moved to the sidewalk, getting soaked in the process. And that's when I looked up at the house. My house. The house my grandmother's money had bought. Gloria was standing at the window, watching me, making sure I left, and she was smiling. I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely unlock it. I scrolled through my contacts until I found the one person I knew would answer, the one person who would know what to do. Monique picked up on the third ring. "Keisha? Girl, it's 2 a.m. What's wrong?" "Mo," I said, and my voice cracked. "He threw me out." They threw me out of my house. There was silence on the other end. Then Monique's voice, suddenly sharp and alert. "Where are you?" "On the sidewalk, in front of my house. I don't know what to do." "Stay right there. No, wait. Walk to the gas station on the corner, the one that's open all night. I'll be there in 15 minutes. She hung up before I could respond. I picked up my trash bags and started walking, away from my house, away from my husband, away from the life I thought I had. I didn't know then that this was the beginning of the end for them, and the beginning of a new life for me. I didn't know that they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. All I knew was that I was alone, wet, and homeless at 2 a.m. But I wasn't as helpless as they thought, because my grandmother had taught me something they would never understand. Always have your name on the deed, baby. Always have your own. Because a man can walk out the door, but if your name is on that paper, you keep the keys. They thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming. Monique pulled up to that gas station in 15 minutes flat. I don't know how she made it so fast, but she did. That's the kind of friend she was. I was standing under the fluorescent lights, still in my pajamas, still wet from those sprinklers, holding trash bags full of my life. The night clerk kept looking at me through the window like I was crazy. Maybe I was. Monique's car screeched into the parking lot. She jumped out before the engine even stopped, ran over to me, and wrapped me in her arms. I lost it. Right there in that gas station parking lot at 2:30 in the morning, I completely fell apart. All the tears I had been holding back came flooding out. "I got you," Monique kept saying. "I got you, sis. It's going to be okay." She loaded my bags into her trunk and put me in the passenger seat, wrapped a blanket around me that she had grabbed from her apartment, turned the heat on even though it wasn't that cold. She knew I needed warmth, not from the air, from someone caring. We drove to her place in silence. She didn't push me to talk, didn't ask questions, just let me cry. When we got to her apartment, she sat me down on her couch with a cup of hot tea. Then she sat across from me and waited. "Okay," she finally said, "tell me everything, from the beginning." So I did. I told her about the ambush at the dinner table, about Gloria saying I needed to leave, about Darnell taking his mama's side, about the accusations, the insults, the comments about me not being able to have children. I told her about sitting in that bedroom for hours, waiting for Darnell to come say it was all a mistake. I told her about the 2 a.m. wake-up call, the trash bags, being pushed out of my own front door. And I told her about Gloria standing at that window, smiling. Monique listened to every word. Her face got tighter and tighter the more I talked. By the end, she looked like she was about to explode. But she didn't explode. Instead, she took a deep breath and asked me one question. "Keisha, the deed to that house, whose name is on it?" I blinked. "What?" "The deed," she repeated. "The legal document that says who owns the property. Whose name is on it?" "Mine," I said. "Just mine." Monique's eyes went wide. "Just yours? Darnell's name isn't on it?" "No, my grandmother, she made sure. Before she died, she sat me down and made me promise. She said, 'Don't you ever put a man's name on your property until he proves himself worthy. And if he never proves himself, he never gets his name on nothing.'" Monique stared at me for a long moment. Then she started laughing. I didn't understand. "What's funny? Nothing about this is funny." "Oh, girl." She was laughing so hard she had tears in her eyes. "Oh, this is good. This is so good." "Mo, what are you talking about?" She leaned forward and grabbed my hands. "Keisha, listen to me. They just kicked you out of a house that you own, a house that man has zero legal claim to." "But he's my husband," I said. "Doesn't that mean—" "It means nothing," Monique said. "Your name is on the deed. Your name is on the mortgage. He's not on any of it. Keisha, they are the ones who don't belong there, not you. I sat there trying to process what she was saying. 5 years of marriage had messed with my head so much that I had forgotten the most basic fact. That house was mine, legally, completely, entirely mine. Let me guess, Monique continued. In 5 years, he never paid the mortgage? Not once. Utilities? No. Down payment? My grandmother's inheritance. And his mama? She pay rent? No. She says she's on a fixed income. Monique rolled her eyes. Fixed income. Girl, didn't she sell a house? Yeah, 3 years ago, for $180,000. Monique's mouth dropped open. And she's been living with you for free? For 3 years? While sitting on that kind of money? She says she doesn't have it anymore. Doesn't have it. Right. Monique shook her head. Keisha, do you understand what's happened here? You've been housing, feeding, and financing 2 grown adults who have been plotting to steal your property. And they don't even know they have no claim to it. I felt something shift inside me. The fog of hurt and confusion started to clear just a little bit. What do I do? I asked. Monique smiled, not a happy smile, a warrior smile. First, you stay here with me. Get some sleep. Then tomorrow, we plan. Because those people, they're about to find out what happens when you mess with a woman who knows her worth. She paused and looked me dead in the eyes. And Keisha, I'm a family law attorney. I've handled dozens of cases like this. By the time I'm done with them, they won't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. For the first time since this nightmare started, I felt something other than pain. I felt hope. I didn't sleep much that night. How could I? My mind was racing with everything Monique had said, with everything that had happened, with everything that was about to happen. But when morning came, something was different. The woman who woke up on Monique's couch wasn't the same woman who had been thrown out of her house 12 hours earlier. That woman was defeated, broken, ready to give up. This woman was angry. And anger, when you point it in the right direction, can move mountains. Monique was already up, coffee brewing, legal pad on the table. She looked like she hadn't slept either, but she was energized, ready for battle. Okay, she said, sliding a cup of coffee toward me. Let's talk strategy. I sat down across from her. I'm listening. Here's what you need to understand, she began. That house is 100% yours, period. Doesn't matter that you're married. Georgia is an equitable distribution state, not community property. You know what that means? Not exactly. It means that in a divorce, assets get divided fairly, but fairly doesn't mean 50-50. And more importantly, she tapped her pen on the table, property that you owned before the marriage, or property that you inherited, is considered separate property. It's not marital property. It's yours alone. The house was bought with my inheritance, I said slowly, putting the pieces together, before we got married. Exactly. And his name was never added to the deed. He has no claim. None. Zero. Zilch. Legally, he's just been a guest in your house for 5 years. A guest who didn't pay rent. Monique smiled. Now you're getting it. She pulled out a fresh legal pad. But we're going to do this right. We're going to document everything, make it airtight. When we're done, they won't have a leg to stand on in any court. What do you need? She started writing. First, I need a copy of the deed, the actual document showing only your name. I have that. It's in my safe deposit box at the bank. Smart woman. Your grandmother taught you well. Okay, next. All mortgage statements, every single one from the past 5 years. I need to show that only your payments went toward that house. I have those too. I keep everything. Good. Bank statements, same thing, showing that you were the only one depositing money, paying bills, funding the household. I nodded. I can get those from online banking. Monique kept writing. Any texts or messages where they admit they don't pay bills. Anything where Darnell acknowledges you're the one supporting the household. I thought about it. He said things like that, joking around with his friends. I might have some texts. Find them. Screenshot everything. Next, documentation of when Gloria moved in. 3 years ago, you said? Yes, it was right after Thanksgiving. Any agreement about rent? Any paperwork? No, it was supposed to be temporary, a few months. Monique shook her head. Let me guess, she just never left. She never left. And she never offered to pay anything. That's going to work in our favor, Monique said. She's been living there rent-free for 3 years. No lease agreement, no tenant rights. She's a guest who overstayed her welcome. Then Monique looked up at me. One more thing. Any evidence of his affair? I froze. His what? Oh, come on, Keisha. Monique gave me a look. A man who goes out networking every night, who comes home smelling like perfume, who has new clothes you didn't buy? Girl, please. I felt sick to my stomach. I suspected. Deep down, I think I always suspected, but I never let myself really believe it. We need to find out, Monique said gently, because if he's been using your money to fund an affair, that's going to matter. For the divorce, for everything. How do we find out? I have some ideas, but first, let's focus on what we know for sure. The house is yours, the money has been yours, and they tried to steal it all. She put down her pen and looked at me seriously. Keisha, I want you to understand something. What they did to you, throwing you out of your own home in the middle of the night, that's not just wrong, it's potentially illegal. We could pursue charges for unlawful lockout. We could make their lives very, very difficult. I don't want to make their lives difficult, I said. I just want what's mine. And you'll get it, Monique promised. Every single thing that belongs to you. The house, your belongings, your dignity. We're going to get it all back. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. But Keisha, when this is over, I don't want you to just get your stuff back. I want you to get yourself back. The woman you were before that man and his mama broke you down. She's still in there, and it's time to let her out. I felt tears prick my eyes again, but these were different. These weren't tears of pain. They were tears of recognition. She was right. Somewhere, underneath all the exhaustion and criticism and self-doubt, the real me was still there, waiting. It was time to wake her up. What's our first move? I asked. Monique grinned. First, you go to work. Act normal. Don't let them know anything has changed. Meanwhile, I'm going to start drafting some documents. By the end of the week, Darnell and his mama are going to get a very official notice that their free ride is over. And then we watch them panic. And honestly, that's going to be the best part. Monday morning, I walked into First National Bank like nothing had happened. Hair done, makeup on, professional outfit that I had bought over the weekend because everything I owned was either wrinkled in trash bags or still locked in my own house. My coworker Jasmine spotted me the minute I walked through the door. She took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. Keisha? She hurried over. Girl, you look like you haven't slept in days. What happened? I pulled her into the break room and closed the door. Then I told her everything. Jasmine's reactions were something else. Her face went through about 15 different emotions in 5 minutes. Shock, disbelief, anger, more anger, then a look I can only describe as righteous fury. Wait, she said, holding up her hand. Let me make sure I understand this correctly. He kicked you out of your house? A house he doesn't pay for? That's what happened. And he thinks he can keep it? He doesn't know the deed is only in my name. Jasmine's eyes went wide. Then she started to smile. Oh, honey. Oh, this is about to be good. That's what Monique said. She's right. Jasmine pulled up a chair. Okay, here's the thing. I'm a loan processor. I know how this stuff works. Let's pull up your accounts and see exactly where your money has been going. For the next hour, during our lunch break, we went through everything. Jasmine had access to systems I didn't even know existed. She pulled up transaction histories, payment records, account details. And what we found made me sick. Look at this, Jasmine said, pointing at the screen. These credit card charges, restaurants you never went to, a hotel downtown you never stayed at, a jewelry store. I looked at the dates. These are all from the past 8 months. Uh-huh. And look at the amounts. $200 here, $300 there. This jewelry purchase, $500. He didn't buy me any jewelry. Jasmine gave me a look. No, honey, he didn't. The affair. It was right there in black and white. Every dinner he bought her, every gift, every romantic getaway, all funded by me. There's more, Jasmine said. Look at the cash withdrawals. Every week, $200, $300, cash. Where do you think that went? I knew where it went. His networking events that weren't networking events. His business expenses that weren't business expenses. Keisha, Jasmine said softly, in the past 8 months alone, he spent almost $8,000 that we can track. $8,000 of your money. On her, I said, whoever she is. Let's find out. Jasmine pulled up social media on her phone. What's his Instagram? I told her. She started scrolling through his profile. Mostly gym selfies and motivational quotes. Nothing suspicious. Check his tagged photos, I suggested. She did. And that's when we found her. A woman named Tiffany Banks had tagged him in several photos. Dinners, movies, a couple's spa day. In every picture, they were wrapped around each other like they'd been together for years. Who is this? Jasmine asked. I don't know, but I'm about to find out. We clicked on Tiffany's profile. It was public, and what I saw there made my blood run cold. 3 months ago, she had posted a photo of her hand. On her ring finger was a diamond ring. The caption said, "He asked, and I said yes. Can't wait to be Mrs. Jackson." I grabbed Jasmine's arm. That's my ring. What? That ring! On her finger! That's my engagement ring! Darnell told me he lost it last year, said it fell off at the gym and someone must have taken it. He gave your engagement ring to his side chick? I couldn't speak. I just stared at that photo, at my ring on another woman's hand. Jasmine kept scrolling. More photos, more evidence. A picture of Tiffany at a fancy restaurant. The caption said, "My king treating me right." In the background, I could see the bill, over $200. I remember that night, I said quietly. He told me he was at a networking event. Asked me for money that morning. You funded his affair, Jasmine said, with your own money. Yes, I did. We sat there in silence for a moment, and Jasmine reached over and closed the laptop. Keisha, she said, I know you're hurting right now. I know this is a lot to take in, but I need you to hear something. I looked at her. This is not your fault. None of this. You were a good wife, a loyal wife. You did everything right. He's the one who lied. He's the one who cheated. He's the one who stole from you. But I should have seen it, I said. The signs were right there. Girl, stop. Jasmine grabbed my hand. You trusted your husband. That's what you're supposed to do. He's the one who violated that trust. He's the villain here, not you. I took a deep breath. She was right. I knew she was right. But it was going to take time to really believe it. What do we do now? I asked. Now, Jasmine said, we document everything. Screenshot every photo. Save every transaction. We build a case so airtight that when you walk into that divorce hearing, Darnell won't know what hit him. She handed me her phone. Start with Tiffany's Instagram. Get everything. By the time your lawyer is done with this, Darnell is going to wish he'd never heard the word networking. I took the phone and started screenshotting. She was right. It was time to stop being the victim. It was time to fight back. That night, Monique and I sat in her living room with her laptop and a bottle of wine. Jasmine had sent over everything she found, and now we were going through it, piece by piece. Lord have mercy, Monique said, scrolling through Tiffany's Instagram. This girl has documented the entire affair. Dates, times, locations. It's like a scrapbook of infidelity. She thought she was showing off her relationship, I said. She didn't know it was evidence. Monique stopped at a video. Tiffany had posted it about a month ago. In it, she was giving a tour of what she called our future home. "Look at this space," Tiffany said in the video, walking through what looked like a model apartment. Darnell said when he gets the house situation sorted, we're going to get a place just like this, maybe even bigger. Monique paused the video. "The house situation?" She looked at me. "He was planning to take your house and move her in." I felt numb. All those months of networking events and business meetings, all those times he came home late smelling like perfume, all those moments I questioned myself, told myself I was being paranoid, told myself I should trust my husband. He was planning to replace me the whole time. Monique kept scrolling, then she stopped again. "Oh, Keisha, look at this." It was a photo of Tiffany wearing a necklace, a gold chain with a heart pendant. I recognized it immediately. "That's the necklace he bought for our anniversary," I said. "Our 5th anniversary. He said it was special ordered." Apparently, it was special ordered for her. I stood up and walked to the window. I couldn't look at any more photos, any more evidence. It was too much. Monique came and stood beside me. "I know this hurts," she said, "and I'm sorry you're going through it. But you need to see the truth about who he is, who he's always been." "I trusted him," I whispered. "I gave him everything." "I know, baby. I know." We stood there in silence for a moment. Then Monique spoke again. "Can I tell you something? About my divorce?" I looked at her. She had never really talked about it. I knew she was divorced, knew it was ugly, but she never shared the details. "My ex-husband," she said, "he was a lot like Darnell. Charming, full of dreams, always had a plan that was going to make us rich. I supported him through 3 failed businesses, covered the bills when he couldn't, made excuses to my family when they asked why he wasn't working. What happened?" She took a deep breath. "I found out he had been cheating for 2 years. With my cousin." "Your cousin?" "My cousin. At our family reunion, while I was helping my grandmother in the kitchen, they were in the back of his car in the parking lot." "Oh, Mo." "I blamed myself at first," she continued. "Thought maybe I wasn't pretty enough, sexy enough, supportive enough. I ran through every possible thing I could have done differently." I understand that feeling. But here's what I learned, Keisha. It wasn't about me. It was never about me. Some people are just takers. They find givers and they drain them dry. And when there's nothing left to take, they move on to the next victim. She turned to face me. "Darnell is a taker. His mama is a taker. They found a giver in you and they took advantage for 5 years. But the taking stops now." I felt tears rolling down my cheeks. "How did you get through it?" "One day at a time, and by focusing on what I could control. I couldn't control what he did. I couldn't control who he was. But I could control how I responded. I could control my own future." She smiled at me. "And now? I'm a successful attorney. I own my own condo. I answer to nobody. And my ex? Last I heard, he was living in his mama's basement because my cousin kicked him out when she found out he was cheating on her too." "Karma," I said. "Karma. And a good lawyer, which you have." Monique went back to the laptop and started making notes. "Okay, here's what we have so far. We have proof of the affair. We have financial records showing you paid for everything. We have documentation that the house is solely in your name. We have evidence he gave your personal jewelry to his mistress. Is that enough?" "It's more than enough for what we need to do first, which is get them out of your house." "How long will that take?" Monique smiled that warrior smile again. "I'm going to draft a notice to vacate. 30 days. That's standard for guests who've overstayed their welcome. And that's all they are legally. Guests. Guests in my house. Your house," she confirmed. "And in 30 days, it's going to feel like your house again." She started typing. "But first, I think it's time you had a conversation with your husband. Let him know that things are about to change." I picked up my phone. My heart was pounding. What do I say? "Whatever you want," Monique said. "Just make sure you record it." The phone rang 3 times before he picked up. "Keisha?" Darnell sounded surprised and maybe a little nervous. Monique was sitting across from me recording everything on her phone. She nodded, encouraging me to continue. "Darnell," I said, "we need to talk." "Look," he started, his voice shifting to something softer, something almost apologetic. "I was going to call you. About the other night. Mama may have been a little harsh." "A little harsh?" I kept my voice calm. "You threw me out of my house at 2 in the morning." I know, he sighed like he was the one who had been wronged. "But you understand, right? Mama's old. She's got health issues. She needs me." "Mm-hmm. Maybe you can come back. We can work something out. But you gotta apologize first." "Apologize?" I repeated. "For what exactly?" "For stressing Mama out. For not being a good wife. You know." I almost laughed. Here he was, the man who hadn't paid a bill in 5 years, who had been cheating on me for 8 months, who had given my engagement ring to another woman, telling me I needed to apologize for not being a good wife. But I stayed calm. Monique had told me to stay calm. "Darnell," I said, "can I ask you something?" "Sure, baby." "Who's Tiffany?" The silence on the other end was deafening. "Who?" he finally said. "Tiffany Banks, the woman you've been dating for 8 months, the woman wearing my engagement ring on her finger, the woman you've been spending my money on." "I don't know what you're talking about." His voice had changed, defensive now, scared. "Someone's been lying to you." "Instagram doesn't lie, Darnell. Neither do bank statements." More silence. I could hear him breathing, thinking, trying to come up with the story. "Okay, look," he switched tactics. "Tiffany is she's nothing. A mistake. I was going through something, and she was there." "But you're my wife. You're the one I love." "The one you love," I said. "The one you kicked out of her own house." I said I was sorry about that. "No, you didn't. You said I should apologize." "Same thing," he muttered. "It's really not. Keisha, stop being difficult. Just come home. We'll figure this out. I'll tell Tiffany it's over. I'll even get your ring back." "That ring," I said slowly, "was a symbol of our commitment. You gave it to another woman. I can explain." "I don't want an explanation, Darnell. I want you to listen." He went quiet. "Let me ask you something else," I continued. "The house. You think it belongs to you, right?" "It's our house," he said, confidence creeping back into his voice. "I'm the husband. What's yours is mine. That's how marriage works." "Interesting. Have you ever actually looked at the deed?" "What?" "The deed, Darnell, the legal document that says who owns the property. Have you ever looked at it?" "I don't need to look at it," he said. "I'm the man of the house. I know how this works." "Do you?" I took a breath. "Because I looked at it. Actually, I've always known what it says. I bought that house, remember? With my grandmother's money." "So?" "So my name is the only name on it." Silence. "What?" His voice was barely a whisper. "My name," I repeated. "Only my name. On the deed, on the mortgage, on everything. You're not on any of it." "That's not possible," he sputtered. "We're married." "Married doesn't mean you own my property, Darnell. Especially property I bought before we got married, with my inheritance, that my grandmother made sure would be protected." "You're lying." "Am I?" "Go look at the deed. It's in the filing cabinet. 3rd drawer down, brown folder. My grandmother made me keep a copy there." I could hear movement on his end, footsteps, a drawer opening. Then nothing. "Keisha." His voice was shaking now. It says Keisha Monique Williams, just Keisha Monique Williams, because that's whose house it is." "But I live here," he said, like that meant something. "You lived there," I corrected, past tense. "You're about to receive a notice from my attorney. You and your mother have 30 days to vacate my property. You can't do this." "I can, and I am." "Keisha, wait. Let's talk about this. Let's be reasonable." "Reasonable?" I felt the anger rising now, but I kept it controlled. "You kicked me out of my own home at 2 in the morning Because your mama told you to. You've been cheating on me for 8 months with money I earned. You gave my ring to another woman. And you want me to be reasonable?" He didn't have an answer for that. 30 days, Darnell. I suggest you start packing." I hung up before he could say another word. Monique stopped the recording and looked at me with pride in her eyes. "Girl," she said, "that was cold-blooded." I learned from the best. "How do you feel?" I thought about it for a moment. I felt strong, clear, certain. "I feel like myself," I said, "for the first time in 5 years." Monique smiled. "Welcome back, sis. Welcome back." I would have loved to be a fly on the wall when Darnell told his mama. I can imagine it, though. Picture this. Darnell standing in the dining room of my house, holding that deed with shaking hands. Gloria rushing over to see what's wrong. "What is it? What does it say?" And Darnell looking at that piece of paper like it had betrayed him. "Mama," he probably said, "she's not on the deed." "What do you mean she's not on the deed? Let me see that." Gloria probably snatched it out of his hands, read it once, read it twice, read it 3 times like somehow the words would change. But they didn't change, because truth doesn't change just because you don't like it. "This can't be right," I imagine her saying. "You're the husband. The house is supposed to be in your name." But it wasn't. It was never in his name, not for one single day of our marriage. My grandmother saw to that. She saw who Darnell was long before I did. She made me promise to protect myself. And even though I forgot that promise along the way, the protection stayed in place. I know Gloria called me that night because I saw the missed calls, 12 of them, plus a string of text messages that went from demanding to angry to desperate. "Keisha, call me right now. We need to talk about this. You can't just put us out. I'm an old woman. Where am I supposed to go? This is not right, and you know it." I didn't respond to any of them. Monique had told me not to. "All communication goes through me now," she said. "Let them stew." So they stewed. I found out later from a mutual friend what happened that night at my house, the house I paid for, the house they thought they had stolen. Gloria had a complete meltdown, screaming, crying, throwing things. She called Darnell every name in the book for not making sure he was on the deed, for trusting me, for being stupid. "How could you not check?" she screamed at him. "How could you just assume?" "You told me it was automatic," he yelled back. "You said when you get married, everything becomes both of yours. I didn't think you'd be dumb enough to never verify." And there it was, mother and son turning on each other. The united front that had worked together to throw me out was crumbling. Gloria called her other children that night. Brenda, the oldest daughter in Atlanta, Marcus, the son in D.C., even her younger sister. She was looking for somewhere to land, looking for a backup plan. But here's the thing about people like Gloria. When you spend your whole life manipulating and using people, eventually they stop answering the phone. Brenda told her flat out that she couldn't stay with her. "Mama, I warned you about moving in with Darnell. I told you something like this would happen. I love you, but I can't save you from yourself." Marcus was slightly more sympathetic, but barely. "You can stay in my guest room for 1 month," he said. 1 month, Mama, and you're paying rent." Gloria hated Marcus. He was her least favorite child, the one who never jumped when she said jump. The idea of living under his roof, under his rules, probably made her sick. But beggars can't be choosers, and that's what she was now, a beggar. She didn't have a house anymore. She had sold it and hidden the money. Now she was about to lose her free ride at my place. For 3 years, she had lived like a queen in my home, eating my food, using my utilities, criticizing everything I did while contributing nothing. And now? Now she was about to find out what it felt like to be at someone else's mercy. As for Darnell, his world was falling apart too. He called Tiffany that night, probably looking for comfort, for reassurance, for somewhere to go when the 30 days were up. But Tiffany had seen the social media posts, the mutual friends who had started putting pieces together, the whispers about how Darnell's wife was kicking him out of her house because he had been cheating. "I don't want any part of this drama," Tiffany told him. "You told me you were separated. You told me that was your house. Everything you said was a lie." "Baby, I can explain. Don't call me baby. Don't call me anything. We're done." She hung up on him, blocked his number, removed every photo of him from her Instagram. Just like that, the side chick he thought would be his soft landing was gone. Darnell was alone in my house with his angry mother and a 30-day countdown. No job, no money, no backup plan. Everything he thought he had, everything he thought he was entitled to, was slipping through his fingers. And me? I was at Monique's apartment, sleeping better than I had in years. There's something peaceful about knowing that justice is coming, about knowing that the people who hurt you are finally going to face consequences. I didn't wish them harm, I really didn't, but I wasn't going to cry over their suffering either. They made their choices. Now they had to live with them, just like I had to live with mine for 5 long years. The difference was my suffering was ending. Theirs was just beginning. 2 days after my phone call with Darnell, the notice was ready. Monique had drafted it herself. 7 pages of legal language that basically said one thing: get out of my house. Official notice to vacate. That was the header. Below it, all the legal details. Property address, check. Names of the occupants, Darnell Marcus Jackson and Gloria Jean Jackson, check. Name of the property owner, Keisha Monique Williams. Just that one name, check. Notice period, 30 days from date of service. Reason, the above-named occupants are residing in the property without legal right, ownership claim, or rental agreement. The property owner is exercising her legal right to reclaim sole possession of her property. Monique had a process server deliver it in person. She wanted to make sure there was proof of service. No way for them to claim they never received it. I wasn't there when it happened, but Monique was. She waited in her car across the street to watch. She told me about it later. How Darnell opened the door looking like he hadn't slept in days. Probably hadn't. How his face went pale when the process server said the words, "You've been served." How Gloria came running to the door, snatched the papers out of his hands, and started reading with her mouth hanging open. How they both just stood there as the process server walked back to his car, got in, and drove away. 7 pages of legal reality, landing on them like a bomb. Monique said Gloria started screaming before the process server was even out of sight, screaming about injustice, about cruelty, about how she was going to call her lawyer and fight this. But here's the thing about fighting. You need ammunition, and Gloria didn't have any. She wasn't on the deed. She had no lease agreement. She had no proof of paying rent because she never paid rent. She was, legally speaking, just a guest who had overstayed her welcome by about 3 years. The law was on my side. The facts were on my side. The truth was on my side. All she had was outrage, and outrage doesn't hold up in court. Darnell tried a different approach. He called Monique's office the next day, asking if they could work something out. "My client's position is clear," Monique told him. "You have 30 days to vacate the property. If you're not out by the deadline, we will pursue formal eviction proceedings. Those proceedings will go on your record and make it difficult for you to rent anywhere in the future." "But where am I supposed to go?" Darnell asked. "That's not my client's concern," Monique replied. "You had 5 years to contribute to the household and establish some claim to the property. You chose not to. These are the consequences of that choice." "Can I at least talk to Keisha?" "All communication goes through this office. If you contact my client directly, we will consider it harassment and pursue appropriate legal action." She hung up on him. When she told me about the call, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then I remembered all those nights he came home smelling like Tiffany's perfume. All those dinners he bought her, with my money. All those lies he told while I worked myself to exhaustion to support him. The almost sorry went away pretty quick. Over the next few days, I started getting messages from people I knew, friends, coworkers, church members. Word was spreading. "Girl, I heard what happened. Are you okay? Is it true Darnell was cheating?" I always knew something was off with him. I should have said something sooner. The court of public opinion was turning. For 5 years, Darnell had been the charming husband, the man everyone loved at church, the guy who always had a smile and a handshake. People believed his image because he sold it so well. But images crack when the truth comes out, and the truth was coming out everywhere. Someone had seen Darnell with Tiffany at a restaurant and put 2 and 2 together. Someone else had noticed Gloria's nasty comments to me at church events and started talking. The stories spread the way stories do in tight-knit communities, quickly and without mercy. By the end of the first week, Darnell couldn't show his face anywhere without getting looks, whispers, turned backs. His mama's boy reputation, which had always been treated as kind of sweet, was now being seen for what it really was: a grown man who couldn't stand up to his mother. A grown man who let his wife get thrown out of her own house. A grown man who had never really been a man at all. The 30-day countdown continued. Every day that passed was one day closer to them being out of my house. One day closer to me getting my life back. I started planning what I would do when they were gone. New paint for the walls, new furniture to replace the pieces Gloria had claimed as hers, a deep clean to get rid of any trace of them, a fresh start. That's what I was building toward, a completely fresh start. 23 days left, then 20, then 15. The countdown was my new favorite thing. Every morning I woke up and subtracted another day. They had thrown me out at 2 a.m. thinking they had won. But the clock was ticking on their victory, and when it ran out, they would be the ones standing on the lawn wondering where to go. Karma doesn't always work on our schedule, but when it shows up strong. Church Sunday. 2 weeks into the 30 days. I hadn't been back since the night they threw me out. Hadn't wanted to face the questions, the looks, the gossip. But Monique convinced me to go. You can't hide forever, she said. And honestly, you don't have anything to hide. You didn't do anything wrong. So I went, put on my nicest dress, did my hair, held my head high. When I walked through those church doors, I felt every eye turn toward me. The whispers started immediately, like waves rippling across the congregation. There she is. Girl, I heard about everything. Can you believe what he did? I kept walking, found a seat in my usual spot, folded my hands in my lap, and I prayed. I prayed for strength, for peace, for the ability to forgive even if I wasn't ready yet. I prayed for guidance, for wisdom, for the courage to keep going. And then Gloria walked in. She tried to make an entrance like nothing had changed. Head high, pearls on, that fake smile plastered across her face. But the reception she got was different from before. Mother Ernestine, the oldest elder in our church, the woman everyone respected, didn't shake Gloria's hand like she usually did. She just nodded coldly and turned away. The women who used to flock around Gloria, hanging on her every word, suddenly had somewhere else to be. The pastor greeted her politely but briefly. No warm handshake, no special recognition, just a quick hello and move along. For the first time in her life, Gloria was being treated the way she had treated me for 3 years, like she didn't matter. I'm not going to lie, part of me enjoyed it, a small, petty part that I'm not entirely proud of. But after everything she had done, watching her realize that her reputation was crumbling was satisfying. After the service, I was talking to some women from my Bible study group when I heard Gloria's voice behind me. "Keisha, we need to talk." I turned around. She was standing there with her arms crossed, trying to look intimidating, but her eyes were desperate. "Miss Gloria," I said calmly, "I don't think we have anything to talk about. You're destroying this family." She kept her voice low so others wouldn't hear, but the venom was clear. "You're putting an old woman out on the street, an old woman who has $180,000 hidden somewhere, an old woman who lived in my house for free for 3 years, an old woman who convinced her son to throw me out at 2 in the morning. Gloria's jaw tightened. I did what was best for my child. Your child is a grown man who never paid a bill, a grown man who cheated on his wife and gave her ring to another woman. Maybe if you had raised him to be responsible instead of enabling him his whole life, we wouldn't be here. How dare you? How dare I? I stepped closer to her. How dare you come into my house, eat my food, use my electricity, and then try to take everything from me? How dare you tell your son to throw his wife out like garbage? How dare you stand there and act like you're the victim? Gloria's face turned red. She wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by me. You're going to regret this, she hissed. When you're old and alone with no family, you're going to regret throwing us away. I smiled at her. It wasn't a warm smile. Miss Gloria, I said, I've spent 5 years being disrespected in my own home, being treated like a servant, being criticized for everything I did, while you contributed nothing. The only thing I regret is not standing up for myself sooner. I turned and walked away, left her standing there with her mouth open. As I walked toward the door, Mother Ernestine caught my arm. Sister Keisha, she said quietly, I want you to know something. I've been watching that woman for 30 years. I've seen how she treats people, how she manipulates, how she uses. I nodded, not sure what to say. You did the right thing, Mother Ernestine continued, standing up for yourself, protecting what's yours. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for that, not even in the house of God. Thank you, I whispered. That means a lot. She squeezed my hand. The Lord doesn't bless doormats, child. He blesses warriors. And today, you showed yourself to be a warrior. I walked out of that church feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Real, genuine pride in myself. For so long, I had let people walk all over me, let them take and take and take, while I gave and gave and gave. I thought that's what good women did, what good wives did, what good Christians did. But Mother Ernestine was right. Being good doesn't mean being weak. Being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is say enough. And I had finally said it. Enough. Not everyone was supportive. I need to tell you about Patricia. Patricia was someone I knew from church. Not a close friend, but someone I thought was a friend. We had served on committees together, shared meals at potlucks. I thought she was one of the good ones. A few days after that church confrontation with Gloria, Patricia called me. Keisha, honey, she said in that sweet voice people use when they're about to say something that isn't sweet at all. I just wanted to check on you, see how you're holding up. I'm doing okay, I said, taking things one day at a time. Good, good. She paused. Listen, can I be honest with you about something? As a friend? The words, as a friend, should have been my warning sign. Nothing good ever comes after those words. Of course, I said. I just want to make sure you've really thought this through. I mean, I know Darnell made some mistakes. Men do that. They're weak. But he's your husband. He kicked me out of my house, Patricia. I know. And that was wrong. But couldn't you have, I don't know, done something differently? I felt my grip tighten on the phone. Done something differently how? Well, she said, speaking carefully like she was picking her way through a minefield. Sometimes when men stray, it's because they're not getting something at home. I'm not blaming you, of course. I'm just saying maybe if you had been more attentive. More attentive. You know what I mean. Men have needs. And you were working all those hours. Maybe if you had been home more, made more time for him, made him feel special. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was blaming me. After everything, she was actually blaming me. Patricia, I said slowly, I worked those hours because he didn't work at all. I was the only income, the only one paying bills, the only one keeping that household running. I understand, but still, a man needs to feel like a man. If he doesn't feel that at home, he'll look for it somewhere else. So it's my fault he cheated? I'm not saying it's your fault. She was backpedaling now. I'm just saying there are two sides to every story. And what's his side? That he was entitled to cheat on me because I was too busy working to support him? That he deserved to take my ring and give it to another woman because I didn't make him feel special enough? Keisha, you're getting upset. Yes, Patricia, I'm getting upset. Because someone I thought was my friend is sitting here telling me that my husband's affair was somehow my fault. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Silence on the other end. I'm just saying, she finally said, maybe instead of kicking him out, you could try counseling. Try to work things out. Divorce is such a big step. And at our age, finding someone else isn't easy. At our age. There it was, the real fear behind all of it. Patricia, I said, let me ask you something. If your husband cheated on you for 8 months, spent your money on another woman, gave her your jewelry, and then kicked you out of your own house in the middle of the night, would you blame yourself? That's different, she said quickly. How? How is it different? I wouldn't let it get to that point. So it's my fault for letting it get to that point? More silence. I don't think we're understanding each other, Patricia said stiffly. No, I understand you perfectly. I understand that you think a woman should put up with anything to keep a man. I understand that you think being alone is worse than being disrespected. I understand that you would rather I stay in a miserable, abusive situation than be single at 32. I didn't say any of that. You didn't have to. I took a deep breath. Patricia, thank you for your concern, but I don't need friends who think I deserved what happened to me. I don't need people telling me that I should have tried harder to keep a man who never tried at all. Keisha, I was just trying to help. No, you were trying to make yourself feel better, because if you can convince yourself that I did something wrong, then you can believe it would never happen to you. Silence. Goodbye, Patricia. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from sadness, from anger, from the sheer audacity of someone blaming me for my own husband's betrayal. I called Monique immediately and told her what happened. She listened to the whole story, then laughed bitterly. Girl, she said, people like Patricia are everywhere. They see a woman going through something hard, and instead of supporting her, they look for ways to make it her fault. Because if it's your fault, then their world still makes sense. It's so unfair. Of course it's unfair. But here's the truth. What Darnell did had nothing to do with you. He cheated because he's a cheater. He lied because he's a liar. He failed as a husband because he never wanted to be one. He just wanted a provider. I know that. I do. Good. Hold on to that. Because there will be more Patricias. More people who question you, judge you, try to make you doubt yourself. Don't let them. I won't. And Keisha, the best response to people like that is living your best life. In your house, on your terms, with your head held high. She was right. She was absolutely right. The Patricias of the world could think whatever they wanted. They could whisper behind my back and pretend they would have done better. But at the end of the day, I knew the truth. I had done nothing wrong. And I wasn't going to apologize for finally standing up for myself. Not to Patricia, not to Gloria, not to anyone. 10 days left on the countdown. That's when Darnell made his last real attempt. I was at Monique's apartment going through some paperwork when there was a knock at the door. Monique looked through the peephole and turned to me with raised eyebrows. It's him, she said. Your husband. I froze. He wasn't supposed to know where I was staying. All communication was supposed to go through Monique's office. Do you want me to get rid of him? Monique asked. I thought about it for a moment. Then I shook my head. No. Let me talk to him. I need to do this. You sure? I'm sure. Monique opened the door. Darnell was standing there looking like a completely different person from the man who had thrown me out 3 weeks earlier. Gone was the arrogance. Gone was the confidence. He looked tired, beaten down, almost humble. Almost. Keisha, he said, please, can we talk? Just for a minute? Monique stepped aside and let him in, but she stayed close, ready to intervene if needed. Darnell came into the living room and just stood there, not sure what to do with his hands. I sat down on the couch and waited. I've been doing a lot of thinking, he started. About us. About our marriage. About everything. I didn't respond, just watched him. I messed up. I know that. Mama was in my head, filling it with all kinds of poison. She never liked you, and she spent years trying to convince me I could do better. That's not news to me, Darnell. I know. But I should have stood up to her. I should have been a better husband. I should have appreciated everything you did for us instead of taking it for granted." He sat down across from me, leaning forward with his hands clasped. "Keisha, I love you. I've always loved you, and I know I have a messed up way of showing it, but if you give me another chance, I'll prove it to you. I'll get a job, a real job. I'll pay bills. I'll tell Mama she has to leave." I looked at him carefully. Tell Mama she has to leave? Yes, it'll just be us, like it should have been from the start. And Tiffany? Done. Over. I blocked her number, deleted everything. She was a mistake. A huge mistake. He reached out to take my hand, but I pulled away. "Darnell, let me make sure I understand this. You want me to forgive you, take you back, and now suddenly you're willing to kick your mother out. The same mother you chose over me. The same mother whose word was law for 5 years. I was wrong to choose her. I see that now. And you're going to get a job after 2 years of not working? I already have interviews lined up. I talked to a friend who manages a car dealership. He's willing to give me a shot." I nodded slowly. "Let me ask you something. If I had never found out about Tiffany, if you had never been served that eviction notice, would you be here right now, saying all this?" He hesitated, just for a second, but that hesitation told me everything I needed to know. "The only reason you're here," I said quietly, "is because you're losing. You're losing the house. You're losing your comfortable life. You're about to be on the street with nowhere to go. This isn't about love. It's about survival." That's not true, isn't it? 3 weeks ago, you called me a bad wife. You said I wasn't woman enough because I couldn't give you children. You threw me out of my own home in the middle of the night while your mama smiled. I was wrong. I told you I was wrong. Yes, you were. I stood up. But being sorry now doesn't erase 5 years of disrespect. It doesn't erase the cheating. It doesn't erase the lies. People make mistakes, Keisha. That's what forgiveness is for. You're right. People make mistakes, and I made a big one. I spent 5 years with someone who never deserved me, someone who took everything I had and still wanted more. I walked to the door and opened it. "The eviction stands, Darnell. You have 10 days to get out of my house." "Keisha, please." I turned back to look at him one last time. "You know what the saddest part is?" I said. "I really did love you. I would have done anything for you. But you never wanted my love. You wanted my money, my support, my blind loyalty. Well, the bank of Keisha is closed." "I can change," he said desperately. "I can be the man you need." "You don't know what kind of man I need, Darnell. You don't even know what kind of man you are. And I'm done waiting for you to figure it out." "So that's it? After 5 years of marriage, you're just going to throw it away?" I laughed at that. Actually laughed. "Darnell, you threw it away. Every day you didn't work, every bill you didn't pay, every time you chose your mama over me, every night you spent with Tiffany. You threw away our marriage piece by piece for 5 years. I'm just finally accepting that it's gone." Monique stepped forward. "I think it's time for you to leave," she said to Darnell. He looked at me one more time, searching for any sign of weakness, any crack he could exploit. But I was stone. 10 days, I repeated. After that, the sheriff comes. He left without another word. When the door closed behind him, I felt something I didn't expect. Relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. For years, I had been afraid of this moment, afraid of what would happen if I stood up to him, afraid of being alone, afraid of failing. But now that I had done it, I wasn't afraid anymore. He was the one who was afraid now. And that felt right. It felt like justice. The last 10 days of that countdown were the longest and shortest of my life. Long because every day felt like a week. Short because I was finally seeing the end of this chapter. I spent those days getting ready. Monique helped me prepare for what came next. The divorce paperwork, the financial separation, the legal untangling of 2 lives that should never have been tangled together in the first place. I also spent time with Jasmine, going through what I wanted to do with my house once I got it back. new paint colors, new furniture arrangements, a complete fresh start. And I spent time alone, thinking, processing, grieving, if I'm being honest, because even though I knew I was doing the right thing, there was still a part of me that mourned what could have been. The marriage I thought I had, the future I had imagined, the family I had wanted so badly. All of that was gone now. And even though it needed to be gone, even though it was built on lies and manipulation, it still hurt to let it go. But the hurt was getting smaller every day, and the hope was getting bigger. 5 days left. Darnell made a few more attempts to contact me. Texts I didn't respond to, calls I didn't answer. He even showed up at my job once, but security escorted him out before he could make a scene. Gloria was quieter. I heard from friends that she was making arrangements to move to Marcus's place in D.C., packing up her things, telling anyone who would listen that she was the victim in all this. Some people believed her. Those people weren't worth my time. The ones who mattered, the ones who knew the truth, they were on my side. 3 days left. Monique confirmed that everything was in order. The eviction was legal and proper. If they weren't out by the deadline, we could call the sheriff to remove them. I prayed it wouldn't come to that. I prayed they would go quietly. But I was prepared either way. 2 days left. I drove past my house for the first time since that night. Just drove by, slowly, looking at it from the outside. The lawn needed mowing. The flower beds I had planted were overgrown. The whole place looked tired and neglected. It looked like how I had felt for 5 years. But soon, I would breathe life back into it. Soon, it would look like home again. My home. 1 day left. Monique called to confirm the sheriff would be on standby if needed. I was nervous, but not scared. I wasn't scared of Darnell anymore. I wasn't scared of Gloria. I wasn't scared of being alone. For the first time in years, I wasn't scared of anything. The night before the deadline, I couldn't sleep. Not because of anxiety, but because of anticipation. Like a kid on Christmas Eve waiting for morning. I lay in bed at Monique's apartment, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. My grandmother's wisdom. Her insistence that I protect myself. Her dying wish that I would have something of my own. The 5 years of marriage that had slowly broken me down. The endless giving. The constant criticism. The feeling that I was never enough. The night they threw me out. Standing on that lawn at 2 a.m., thinking my life was over. And the awakening that came after. The realization that I had power, that I had rights, that I deserved better. It had been 30 days since they threw me out of my own house. Tomorrow, the story would flip. Tomorrow, they would be the ones leaving. I smiled in the darkness. "Grandma," I whispered, "I hope you can see this. I hope you're proud." And somewhere, somehow, I felt like she was. The countdown was almost over. Day 30 had arrived, and I was ready. I was so ready. They thought they could throw me away and keep what was mine. They thought I would disappear quietly and let them have everything. But my grandmother didn't raise a quitter. She raised a fighter. And tomorrow, the fight would be won. Sleep finally came, peaceful and deep. The last sleep of my old life. When I woke up, everything would change. When I woke up, I would get my house back. When I woke up, I would finally be free. Day 30. I woke up before my alarm, 5 in the morning. Couldn't sleep any longer. Today was the day. I took my time getting ready, showered, did my hair, put on an outfit I had bought specifically for this moment, a deep burgundy dress that made me feel powerful. Gold earrings my grandmother had given me, heels that made me stand tall. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Not because I looked different physically, but because something in my eyes had changed. The defeat was gone. The exhaustion was gone. In its place was something I hadn't seen in years. Strength. Monique picked me up at 9. She was dressed in her lawyer best, ready for battle if needed. "How you feeling?" she asked as I got in the car. "Ready," I said. "I've been ready." We drove to my house. My house. It felt good to say that again, to own it not just on paper, but in my heart. When we pulled onto my street, I saw the sheriff's car already parked at the curb. Deputy Williams was leaning against it, waiting. We had coordinated everything in advance. If Darnell and Gloria were still inside, he would help remove them. I got out of the car and walked toward the house. My house. Every step felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. The front door opened before I reached the porch. Darnell stood there. He looked terrible. Unshaved, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. Behind him, I could see boxes stacked in the living room. At least they had started packing. "Keisha," he said. His voice was hoarse. "Darnell." We stood there for a moment, looking at each other. 5 years of marriage, 5 years of my life. It all came down to this moment. Deputy Williams stepped forward. "Mr. Jackson, I'm here to ensure the peaceful transfer of the property. Is everyone prepared to vacate?" Darnell's jaw tightened. "We're going. Just give us a minute." "The deadline was 6 p.m. yesterday," the deputy said calmly. "You're already past time. I can give you 1 hour to finish loading your belongings. After that, anything left behind becomes property of the homeowner." 1 hour, Darnell repeated. He looked at me with something in his eyes. Anger? Regret? I couldn't tell anymore. 1 hour, he said again. Then he turned and went back inside. I stayed on the porch, watching through the window as he started moving boxes. Gloria was nowhere to be seen at first. Then I heard her voice from upstairs, shrill and complaining. "I am not carrying boxes, Darnell. I am a 58-year-old woman with a bad back. You need to call someone to help." "There is no one to call, Mama. Everyone's busy." "Then hire someone." "With what money?" Their voices faded as they moved to another room. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Monique stood beside me. "You okay?" I nodded. Better than okay. The next hour was surreal. I watched from the porch as Darnell made trip after trip to a rental truck parked in the driveway. Boxes of clothes, furniture he claimed was his. Gloria's collection of ceramic angels that had cluttered my shelves for 3 years. With each item that came out, my house got lighter, cleaner, more mine. Gloria finally appeared at about 45 minutes in. She walked out the front door right past me without saying a word, got into the passenger seat of the rental truck, and stared straight ahead. But I knew she wasn't done. People like Gloria are never done. Sure enough, about 5 minutes before the hour was up, she got out of the truck and marched back toward the house. Toward me. "Here we go," Monique murmured. Gloria stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. She was wearing her church clothes, full makeup, like she was about to perform for an audience. And in a way, she was. A few neighbors had come outside to watch. Word travels fast. "Keisha," Gloria said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "I hope you're happy." I didn't respond. Throwing an old woman out on the street. She shook her head dramatically. "Your grandmother would be ashamed." That got to me. She knew it would. Mentioning my grandmother was a calculated move. "My grandmother," I said calmly, "is the reason I still have this house. She's the one who told me to keep my name on the deed. She's the one who warned me about people like you." Gloria's eyes flashed with anger. "People like me? Users, takers, people who give nothing and expect everything. How dare you? I gave you 3 years of my life. You gave me nothing, Miss Gloria. You lived in my house for free, ate food I paid for, used electricity I paid for, and spent every day criticizing me for not being good enough. I was trying to help you be a better wife. By telling your son to throw me out at 2 in the morning? The neighbors were definitely listening now. I could see them on their porches, in their driveways, pretending not to watch while watching every second. "That was a mistake," Gloria said, lowering her voice slightly. "Darnell overreacted. Darnell did exactly what you told him to do, like he always does. I am his mother. A mother knows best." "A mother," I said, stepping down from the porch to look her directly in the eyes, "knows how to raise a son who can stand on his own 2 feet. A mother teaches her children to be responsible, to work hard, to treat people with respect. You didn't do any of that. You raised a man who can't hold a job, can't pay his bills, and can't be faithful to his wife. And then you moved into my house and tried to take that, too." Gloria's face turned red. The sympathetic old woman act was slipping. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "When you're old and alone, you'll wish you had family." "I have family," I said. "I have friends who love me. I have a community that supports me. What I don't have anymore is people who use me, and that includes you." Deputy Williams cleared his throat. "Time's up, folks. The property needs to be cleared." Gloria stood there for a moment longer, trembling with rage. Then she turned and walked back to the truck. Darnell came out of the house one last time, carrying a box of kitchen items. He paused when he saw me. "The keys," I said, holding out my hand. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the key ring. "My keys, to my house." He dropped them into my palm. "I loved you," he said quietly. "In my own way, I did." "I know," I said, "but your way wasn't enough." He nodded once. Then he walked to the truck, got in, and started the engine. I stood in my driveway and watched them pull away, watched the truck turn the corner and disappear. And then they were gone. Deputy Williams tipped his hat. "Congratulations, ma'am. It's all yours." I looked at my house, the house my grandmother's money had bought, the house I had paid for every single month for 5 years, the house they had tried to steal from me. Mine. It was finally, truly mine. I walked up the porch steps, put my key in the lock, turned it, and stepped inside. Home. I was home. The story didn't end when that truck pulled away. In fact, for Gloria, it was just beginning. See, Gloria couldn't accept defeat gracefully. That wasn't in her nature. She had spent her whole life manipulating situations to her advantage, and she wasn't about to stop now. Within hours of leaving my house, she was on the phone, calling everyone she knew, spinning a story that painted her as the victim and me as the villain. My daughter-in-law threw me out on the street, an old woman with health problems, left me with nowhere to go. She called her church friends. She called distant relatives. She even called the local news station, trying to get them interested in her tale of elder abuse. Yes, elder abuse. That's what she called it. Said I had emotionally and financially abused her for 3 years and then discarded her like trash. Funny how she left out the part about living rent-free in my house. Funny how she didn't mention that she had $180,000 hidden away. Funny how she forgot to include the detail about convincing her son to throw me out at 2 a.m. But that's how people like Gloria operate. They tell half the truth and let people fill in the rest with assumptions. Some people believed her. I won't lie, that hurt at first. Hearing the people I had known for years were taking her side, calling me cruel and heartless. But then something interesting happened. The truth started coming out. One of Gloria's church friends, Sister Martha, decided to do some digging. She had always found Gloria's stories a little too convenient, a little too one-sided. So she asked around. She found out about the house sale. $180,000. She found out about Gloria living with us for 3 years without paying a dime. She found out about the 2 a.m. eviction, about Darnell's affair, about everything. And Sister Martha was not the kind of woman to keep quiet. "Let me tell you what really happened," she said at the next church gathering. Gloria's daughter-in-law owned that house, paid for it herself. Gloria lived there for free for 3 years. Then Gloria convinced her son to throw his wife out in the middle of the night so they could keep the house. The room went silent. Sister Martha continued, and when the wife exercised her legal right to reclaim her own property, Gloria started calling herself a victim. But she's not a victim. She's a con artist who got caught. Gloria tried to defend herself. "Those are lies. Hisha has turned everyone against me." "Gloria," Sister Martha said firmly, "I've known you for 20 years. I've watched you manipulate your children, your husbands, your friends. You've been playing victim your whole life. The only difference now is that someone finally stood up to you." The tide turned after that. The same people who had been sympathetic to Gloria started looking at her differently, asking questions, connecting dots. By the end of the week, Gloria had worn out her welcome everywhere. Her sister, who had initially offered to let her stay for a few days, suddenly remembered that her house was being fumigated. Her church friends were too busy to help. Her other children had excuses lined up. The only one who took her in was Marcus, the son she had always treated as less than, the one she called a disappointment behind his back. Marcus lived in D.C., had a good government job, a nice house, a wife named Sharon who had never liked Gloria much. "You can stay in the guest room," Marcus told his mother, "but there are rules. You pay rent, $500 a month. You buy your own groceries. You don't interfere in my marriage, and you don't badmouth Keisha to anyone." Gloria was furious. "You're charging your own mother rent? You're lucky I'm letting you stay at all," Marcus said. "After what you did to Darnell's wife, I should put you in a motel." So Gloria went to D.C., to the son she had dismissed and belittled his whole life, to a house where she had to pay her way for the first time in years, to a daughter-in-law who watched her every move and didn't tolerate any nonsense. She didn't stay long, about 6 months from what I heard. Then she moved to a senior apartment complex, modest, clean, affordable, a far cry from the 3-bedroom house she had lived in rent-free for 3 years. I don't know if Gloria ever learned anything from the experience. People like her usually don't. They go to their graves believing they were wronged, that the world was unfair to them, that everyone else was the problem. But I know this: she never lived off someone else again. She never convinced another one of her children to throw out their spouse so she could move in. She never had that kind of power again. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's the best we can hope for with people like Gloria. Not that they change, just that they stop hurting others. Let me tell you where everyone ended up, because I think you deserve to know how the story played out. Darnell. After leaving my house, Darnell moved in with his mother at Marcus's place in D.C. That lasted about 2 weeks. Marcus's wife Sharon made it very clear that she was tolerating one unwanted house guest, not 2. So Darnell came back to Charlotte, moved into a motel at first, then found a room to rent in someone's house. A small room in a not great neighborhood, shared bathroom, no kitchen access, just a bed, a dresser, and a TV. A far cry from the 3-bedroom house he used to call his own. He got a job. Took him a while, but he finally did it. Started as a detailer at a car dealership, cleaning vehicles for minimum wage. The same kind of work he had called beneath him for years. I heard he got promoted eventually. Sales associate, entry level, working his way up the way he should have done a decade ago. I don't know if he ever became successful. I don't really care. What I do know is that he finally had to stand on his own 2 feet. For the first time in his adult life, nobody was there to catch him. Nobody was paying his bills. Nobody was making excuses for him. Maybe that was the best thing that could have happened to him. Or maybe he's still bitter and blaming everyone else for his problems. Either way, it's not my concern anymore. Tiffany. Here's something that might surprise you. Tiffany actually reached out to me. About a month after the eviction, I got a message on social media. From her, Tiffany Banks, the woman my husband had been cheating on me with. I almost deleted it without reading, but something made me curious. "Mrs. Williams," the message said, "I know you probably hate me, and I understand why, but I wanted you to know that I had no idea he was married. Not really married. He told me you were separated and getting divorced. He told me the house was his. He told me a lot of things that turned out to be lies." She went on, "I found out the truth when everything blew up. When I saw the social media posts and heard from people what really happened, I felt sick. I felt used. I realized I was just another victim of his lies. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it, but I wanted you to have this back." Attached to the message was a photo of my engagement ring in a small box. She had mailed it to Monique's office. The ring Darnell had taken off my finger and given to another woman. It was back. I wrote her back. A short message. Thank you for returning the ring. I don't blame you for what Darnell did. You were lied to just like I was. I hope you find someone who treats you better. That was it. I never heard from her again. I don't wear that ring anymore. Too many bad memories attached to it. But I kept it. Not as a reminder of Darnell, but as a reminder of my grandmother. She was the one who had helped pay for it back when Darnell and I first got engaged. Back when I still believed in him. I keep it in a safe place. Maybe one day I'll have it reset into something new, something that represents this chapter of my life, the chapter where I learned my worth. Gloria. I told you about her move to D.C., about the senior apartment complex, but there's a little more to the story. About a year after everything happened, I heard through the grapevine that Gloria had been diagnosed with diabetes, type 2, manageable but serious. For a moment, just a moment, I felt bad. I thought about reaching out, about offering some kind of olive branch. Then I remembered. I remembered the way she smiled at me through that window at 2 a.m. I remembered every cruel comment about my inability to have children. I remembered her calling my grandmother's house her house. And I let the moment pass. Gloria made her choices. She chose manipulation over kindness. She chose control over love. She chose to use people instead of building real relationships. I wasn't going to save her from the consequences of those choices. Not anymore. Crystal. Remember Crystal, Gloria's niece? The one Gloria was planning to move into my house? She found out about the whole scheme eventually, about how Gloria had been planning to kick me out so Crystal and her kids could move in. Crystal was horrified. She called me to apologize even though she hadn't done anything wrong. Mrs. Williams, I had no idea what Aunt Gloria was planning. She told me you were leaving voluntarily, that you and Darnell had agreed to separate. I never would have gone along with it if I knew the truth. I told her I didn't blame her. Gloria had a way of manipulating everyone around her. Crystal was just another victim. Crystal's doing okay now. She got a better job, moved to a nicer apartment, put her kids in a good school. She cut ties with Gloria completely, said she couldn't trust anything that woman said ever again. Smart girl. And me? I'll tell you about me in a moment. But first, I need to tell you about one more conversation. The last conversation I ever had with Darnell. It happened 3 months after the eviction, and it changed everything. The first night alone in my house, I didn't know what to do with myself. For 5 years, every moment had been filled with taking care of someone, cooking for someone, cleaning up after someone, worrying about someone. Now, there was just me. I walked through every room, touched every wall, opened every cabinet, like I was seeing the place for the first time. In a way, I was. This is mine, I kept saying out loud. This is mine. This is mine. The bedroom where they had thrown my clothes into trash bags. Mine. The kitchen where Gloria had criticized every meal I made. Mine. The living room where Darnell had played video games while I worked double shifts. Mine. All mine. I cried that first night. Not sad tears, not angry tears. Something else. Release, maybe. 5 years of holding everything in, and finally I could let it go. I fell asleep on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, feeling safer than I had felt in years. The next few weeks were about reclaiming. I painted the walls, fresh colors, warm yellows and soft blues, colors I had always wanted, but Gloria said were too bright, too much. Too much, I said to myself as I rolled paint onto the walls. I'll show you too much. I bought new furniture, not expensive stuff, but things I chose myself. A couch that was comfortable, not just stylish. A dining table for one, because I didn't need 6 chairs anymore. A bed that was mine alone. I deep cleaned every inch of that house, scrubbed floors on my hands and knees, washed windows until they sparkled, got rid of every trace of them. It was exhausting. It was liberating. It was exactly what I needed. My friends helped. Monique came over with wine and paintbrushes. Jasmine brought her truck and helped me haul away old furniture. Even some women from church showed up, the ones who had seen Gloria's true colors, and we spent a Saturday cleaning and laughing and healing together. Sister circles, my grandmother used to call them, women holding each other up. Women helping each other survive. I had forgotten how important that was, how much I needed it. Darnell and Gloria had isolated me slowly over the years, making me feel like I couldn't rely on anyone but them. Now I was remembering the truth. I was never alone. I just couldn't see my people through the fog they had created. Work got better too. My boss noticed the change in me, said I seemed lighter, more confident, more present. I got a promotion. Senior Vice President of Mortgage Operations, a title I had been passed over for twice before, back when I was too exhausted and beaten down to advocate for myself. This time, I walked into that interview and I owned it. I told them exactly what I brought to the table, exactly what I had accomplished, exactly what I would do for the company. They offered me the job on the spot. The raise meant I could finally breathe financially. No more scraping by. No more robbing Peter to pay Paul. For the first time since I got married, I had money left over at the end of the month. Money that went into my savings, my travel fund, my future. Not Darnell's businesses, not Gloria's medications, not anyone else's emergencies. Mine. I started doing things for myself, small things at first, a manicure, a massage, a nice dinner at a restaurant where I didn't have to cook or clean up. Then, bigger things, a weekend trip to Savannah, a new wardrobe, a photography class I had always wanted to take but never had time for. I was learning who I was again, who I was outside of being someone's wife, someone's daughter-in-law, someone's provider. I was Keisha, just Keisha. And for the first time in years, that was enough. The divorce went through about 4 months after the eviction. Monique handled everything. Darnell didn't contest it, probably because he knew he had nothing to gain. No claim to the house, no shared assets worth fighting over, just a clean break. When I signed those final papers, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, a weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying until it was gone. I was free. Free to live my life on my own terms, free to make my own choices, free to be happy without asking anyone's permission. My grandmother had given me that freedom when she made me put my name on the deed. She had planted that seed of protection, and it had bloomed into a whole new life. I wish she could see me now. I think she would be proud. No, I know she would be proud, because I finally understood what she had been trying to teach me all along. Your name on that paper, she used to say. That's your power. Don't ever give it away. I never would again. 3 months after the eviction, a Saturday afternoon, I was in my garden planting flowers, something I had always wanted to do but never had the energy for when I was married. Now it was one of my favorite things, getting my hands in the dirt, watching things grow. I heard a car pull up. Didn't think much of it at first. Probably a neighbor, a delivery truck. Then I heard the door close, heard footsteps on my driveway. Keisha. I knew that voice. Would probably know it anywhere, no matter how much time passed. I looked up. Darnell was standing at the edge of my lawn. He looked different, thinner, older somehow, even though it had only been 3 months. He was wearing work clothes, nothing fancy. His Dodge Charger was gone, replaced by an older Honda. Funny how fast things can change. Darnell, I said. I didn't get up from my garden, didn't walk toward him, just stayed where I was, on my knees, in the dirt, in my element. Can I talk to you for a minute? I considered saying no, considered telling him to leave. But something in his voice stopped me, something that sounded almost humble. I wiped my hands on my gardening apron. Say what you need to say. He took a few steps closer, not too close, like he knew he hadn't earned the right to be in my space. I've been doing a lot of thinking, he said, about us, about what happened, about who I was. I waited. I was wrong, Keisha, about everything. I took you for granted. I let my mama control our marriage. I cheated on you with your money. I threw you out of your own house." He paused, looking down at his feet. "I don't have any excuse. There's nothing I can say to make any of that okay. I wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I did." "What made you finally see it?" I asked. He laughed bitterly. "Losing everything. Living in a room I can barely afford. Working a job I used to think was beneath me. Watching my mama get exactly what she deserved." He looked at me. "But mostly, losing you. Not having you there to fix everything, to pay for everything, to put up with everything. I realized how much I depended on you, and how little I gave back." I felt something when he said that. Not love, not forgiveness, but maybe acknowledgement. Finally, after all this time, he was seeing the truth. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I owe you an apology, a real one. Not the fake apologies I used to give when I wanted something. A real one, with nothing attached." He took a breath. "I'm sorry, Keisha, for all of it. For wasting 5 years of your life. For making you feel like you weren't enough. For being the kind of man your grandmother warned you about." I stood up from my garden, brushed the dirt off my knees. "Thank you for saying that," I said. "I mean it." He looked hopeful for a moment, like maybe this was leading somewhere, like maybe I was about to forgive everything and take him back. But I wasn't. "Thank you for the apology," I continued, "but it doesn't change anything." "I know," he said quickly. "I'm not asking you to take me back. I know that ship has sailed. I just needed you to know that I understand now. What I lost." I looked at him, really looked at him. This man I had married, this man I had loved, this man I had carried for 5 years. "Darnell," I said, "I forgive you." His eyes widened. "Not for you," I clarified. "For me. Carrying anger around is exhausting. I've done enough carrying in this lifetime. So I forgive you. I release you. But I don't want you back." "I understand." I moved closer to him, close enough to see the lines on his face, the gray starting at his temples. "You want to know something? The woman I am now, the woman standing in front of you, she's stronger than the woman you married, happier, more at peace, and I couldn't have become her if I had stayed with you." He flinched at that, but he didn't argue. "So in a weird way, I should thank you. Thank you for showing me what I didn't want. Thank you for pushing me to the breaking point. Thank you for being so terrible that I had no choice but to save myself." "That's not exactly a compliment," he said quietly. "No, it's not, but it's the truth." We stood there for a moment, two people who had once promised each other forever, now standing on opposite sides of a line that would never be crossed again. "Goodbye, Darnell," I said. "I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope you become a better man. But I hope you do it far away from me." He nodded slowly. "Goodbye, Keisha." He started to turn, then stopped. "For what it's worth, you deserved better. You always deserved better." "I know," I said. "I know." He walked back to his car, got in, started the engine. Before he pulled away, he looked at me one more time through the window. I couldn't read his expression. Regret? Acceptance? Maybe both. Then he drove away, out of my driveway, out of my life. I went back to my garden, back to my flowers, back to my peace. That was the last time I ever saw Darnell Jackson. And I was okay with that. More than okay. I was free. If you're listening to this story, I need you to hear something. Really hear it. Let it sink into your bones. Know what you own. That's the first lesson, the most important lesson. Know what belongs to you. Check the deed on your house. Check whose name is on the mortgage. Check the titles of your cars. Check every account, every document, every piece of paper that matters. Don't assume, don't trust, verify. My grandmother saved my life by making sure my name was on that deed, by making sure nobody could take what was mine. If she hadn't done that, I would have lost everything. So check. Today. right now. Put this story on pause if you have to and go find out what you actually own. Because knowledge is power, and when it comes to your property, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is how you end up homeless while someone else lives in your house. Know your worth. That's the second lesson. For 5 years, I let people treat me like I was worthless. Let them criticize me, belittle me, use me up, and throw me away. And you know why? Because I forgot my worth. I forgot that I deserved respect. I forgot that my time, my money, my love were valuable. Don't make my mistake. You are worth more than what you give to others. You are worth more than your ability to serve, to provide, to sacrifice. You are a whole person, deserving of love and respect and kindness. If someone in your life makes you feel small, makes you feel like you're not enough, makes you question your own value, that's not love. That's abuse dressed up in familiar clothes. You deserve better. Believe that. Live that. Demand that. Know when to leave. That's the third lesson, and maybe the hardest one. I stayed 5 years too long. 5 years of hoping things would change. 5 years of making excuses. 5 years of telling myself it would get better. It never got better. It only got worse. If you're in a situation that's draining you, hurting you, breaking you down piece by piece, I need you to hear this. It's okay to leave. It's okay to choose yourself. It's okay to walk away from people who don't treat you right, even if you're married to them, even if you've been with them for years, even if everyone expects you to stay. Your peace is more important than their comfort. Your health is more important than their convenience. Your future is more important than their expectations. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say enough. And finally, know that you're not alone. When I was at my lowest, standing on that lawn at 2 a.m, I felt completely alone. But I wasn't. Monique answered her phone. Jasmine had my back at work. Mother Ernestine spoke truth at church. My grandmother's wisdom protected me from beyond the grave. There are people in your life who will stand with you, people who will help you fight, people who will remind you of who you are when you forget. Find those people. Hold on to them. Let them hold on to you. We weren't meant to survive alone. We were meant to survive together. He kicked me out at 2 a.m. because his mama told him to. 30 days later, he was renting a room while I owned the whole house. That's not just my story. That's a possibility for anyone who's willing to stand up, fight back, and reclaim what's theirs. My grandmother used to say, a man can walk out the door, but if your name is on that deed, you keep the keys. She was right. I kept the keys. I kept the house. I kept my dignity. I kept my future. And now I'm living my best life, in my house, on my terms, with my head held high. That's how this story ends. Not with a man, not with a mother-in-law, not with drama or heartbreak or revenge. It ends with me, standing in my garden, planting flowers, building a life that belongs to me, only me. And that, sisters, is the sweetest victory of all. If any part of this story sounds familiar to you, if you see yourself in the woman I was, please remember the woman I became. You can become her too. You just have to take the first step. Know what you own, know your worth, know when to leave, and know that no matter how dark the night gets, the sun always rises. My name is Keisha, and this is my story. May it give you the courage to write yours.